Hello, and welcome back to the Sleep Lab. Tonight we're going to drift gently back through thousands of years of human history, into the quiet, careful world of ancient healing, the remedies, rituals, and observations early civilizations relied on long before anyone understood germs, hormones, or the nervous system. A word of honest care before we begin. Tonight's facts are historical and cultural, a window into what people once believed and practiced, not medical guidance for you to follow tonight or any other night. Some ancient remedies turned out to hold genuine scientific value, quietly anticipating discoveries modern medicine would only properly explain centuries later. Others were sincerely believed, deeply meaningful to the people who practiced them, and simply, honestly mistaken. We'll walk through both kinds gently tonight, with real, historical curiosity rather than any suggestion that the past should replace a doctor's care in the present. Tonight we're going to move through 100 small, dreamy facts about the healing traditions of the ancient world, one gentle detail after another. If this kind of journey is worth your time, a like, a subscribe, or a thought left below helps this small lab keep its lights on for other sleepy minds finding their way here. But for now, there is nothing you need to do except settle in, let your body grow heavy, and let 100 small truths from healers long past drift gently over you instead. Let's begin. 1. Ancient Egyptian physicians left behind detailed medical texts, including the Edwin Smith Papyrus, dated to around 1600 BCE, describing surgical techniques with a level of careful, methodical observation that genuinely surprised modern historians when it was finally translated. 2. The Edwin Smith Papyrus is considered one of the earliest known medical documents in history, and remarkably, it approaches injury and treatment with observational reasoning rather than purely magical explanation. 3. Ancient Egyptians used honey as a wound dressing, a practice modern research has since confirmed carries genuine antibacterial properties, quietly validating a treatment first recorded thousands of years ago. 4. Willow bark was chewed and brewed by numerous ancient cultures, including the Egyptians, Greeks, and later civilizations, to ease pain and fever, a practice we now understand relates directly to a natural compound called salicin. 5. Salicin, found in willow bark, is chemically related to the active ingredient in modern aspirin, meaning one of today's most common medicines has genuine roots reaching back thousands of years. 6. The ancient Greek physician Hippocrates, often called the father of Western medicine, insisted that illness arose from natural causes rather than divine punishment, a genuinely revolutionary idea for his era around 400 BCE. 7. Hippocrates and his followers emphasized careful observation of a patient's symptoms, environment, and lifestyle, an approach that quietly laid groundwork for the more systematic, evidence-based medicine that would slowly follow centuries later. 8. The Hippocratic Oath, still referenced in some form by medical schools today, originated from this same tradition, emphasizing careful, ethical patient care as a physician's central responsibility. 9. Ancient Greek medicine relied heavily on the theory of the four humors, blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile, believing illness resulted from an imbalance among them, a theory later disproven but influential for nearly 2,000 years. 10. Traditional Chinese medicine developed its own detailed system over thousands of years, centered on concepts including qi, a vital life energy believed to flow through the body along specific pathways called meridians. 11. Acupuncture, a core practice within traditional Chinese medicine, has been documented in Chinese medical texts dating back at least 2,000 years, involving the careful placement of thin needles at specific points on the body. 12. Modern research on acupuncture has produced genuinely mixed results, with some studies suggesting modest benefit for certain kinds of pain, and others finding effects similar to a placebo, a topic still actively studied and debated today. 13. Ancient Chinese physicians also developed an extensive system of herbal medicine, cataloging thousands of plants, some of which have since been studied by modern pharmacology for genuine, active compounds. 14. One notable example is the sweet wormwood plant, used in traditional Chinese medicine for centuries to treat fever, which led modern researcher Tu Youyou to isolate artemisinin, a genuinely effective modern treatment for malaria. 15. Tu Youyou was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 2015 specifically for this discovery, a rare, celebrated case of ancient herbal tradition directly guiding a major modern medical breakthrough. 16. Ayurveda, the traditional medical system of India, dates back more than 3,000 years, built around maintaining balance between mind, body, and environment through diet, herbs, and specific daily routines. 17. Ancient Ayurvedic texts describe turmeric as a treatment for inflammation and wounds, and modern research has since identified curcumin, turmeric's active compound, as having genuine anti-inflammatory properties in laboratory studies. 18. Ancient Indian physicians are also credited with early descriptions of reconstructive surgery, including detailed techniques for nasal reconstruction recorded in the ancient medical text known as the Sushruta Samhita. 19. The Sushruta Samhita, believed to have been compiled around the 6th century BCE, describes over 300 surgical procedures and more than 120 different surgical instruments. 20. Ancient Mesopotamian medicine, among the oldest documented healing traditions in the world, combined herbal treatment with religious ritual, recorded on clay tablets dating back more than 4,000 years. 21. Some Mesopotamian medical tablets include what are considered among the earliest known prescriptions, carefully listing specific plants, preparation methods, and intended uses for particular ailments. 22. Ancient Babylonian physicians practiced a form of early public health record-keeping, and some tablets describe outcomes of treatments, an early, if informal, step toward tracking what actually seemed to work. 23. In ancient Rome, physician Galen built extensively on Hippocratic ideas, and his writings on anatomy and medicine remained the dominant medical authority across much of Europe for well over 1,000 years. 24. Roman medicine also made genuine practical advances, including basic sanitation infrastructure, public bathing facilities, and organized medical care for soldiers within their military legions. 25. Ancient Roman physicians used a form of surgical anesthesia derived from plants including mandrake and opium poppy, offering some degree of pain relief long before modern anesthesia was developed. 26. The opium poppy itself has an extraordinarily long history of medical use, with evidence of cultivation for pain relief dating back to ancient Sumerian civilization more than 5,000 years ago. 27. Ancient Sumerians referred to the opium poppy using a term that translates roughly to joy plant, reflecting its long recognized, if eventually understood to be genuinely risky, pain-relieving properties. 28. Ancient Egyptian medical texts also described the use of moldy bread applied to wounds, a practice that, remarkably, may have provided some early, accidental antibacterial benefit centuries before penicillin was properly understood. 29. Alexander Fleming's famous 1928 discovery of penicillin, derived from a mold, is sometimes discussed alongside these older, historical uses of mold in wound care, though Fleming's discovery was the first to properly isolate and understand the mechanism. 30. We've reached the first third of tonight's list. Somewhere, in the quiet space between old wisdom and modern understanding, one healer's careful observation continues, patiently, to matter. 31. Ancient Persian medicine, particularly through the later work of physician Avicenna around the year 1000 CE, produced the Canon of Medicine, a text that remained a standard medical reference across Europe and the Islamic world for centuries. 32. Avicenna's canon organized medical knowledge with remarkable, methodical thoroughness, covering anatomy, pharmacology, and disease with an encyclopedic detail unusual for its time. 33. Islamic medicine during this same era made genuine advances in hospital organization, establishing some of the earliest institutions resembling modern hospitals, complete with separate wards for different conditions. 34. Medieval Islamic physicians are also credited with significant early advances in ophthalmology, including detailed descriptions of eye anatomy and surgical techniques for treating cataracts. 35. Traditional healers across many African cultures developed extensive knowledge of local medicinal plants, passed down orally through generations of dedicated, careful practitioners long before written records existed. 36. Some plants used traditionally across African healing systems, including certain species now studied for antimalarial and anti-inflammatory properties, continue to interest modern pharmacological researchers today. 37. Indigenous healing traditions throughout the Americas developed independently, long before European contact, incorporating detailed herbal knowledge alongside spiritual and community-centered approaches to wellness. 38. The cinchona tree, native to South America, was used by indigenous peoples in the Andes to treat fever long before European colonizers learned of its properties in the 17th century. 39. Cinchona bark contains quinine, a compound that became the primary treatment for malaria for centuries, and remains, in modified forms, relevant to malaria treatment even today. 40. Traditional Aboriginal Australian medicine, among the oldest continuous healing traditions in the world, developed detailed knowledge of native plants across tens of thousands of years of careful, accumulated observation. 41. Tea tree oil, now a widely available modern product valued for its antiseptic properties, traces its origin directly to traditional use by Aboriginal Australian communities long before it reached global markets. 42. Ancient Nordic and Germanic healing traditions relied heavily on herbal remedies alongside communal rituals, with knowledge often held and carefully passed down by respected women within a community. 43. Ancient Norse medical practices are documented far less extensively than those of Egypt, Greece, or China, since much of the surviving evidence comes from archaeological remains rather than detailed written texts. 44. Traditional Korean medicine developed alongside, and in genuine conversation with, Chinese medical tradition, while also incorporating distinct local practices and herbal knowledge unique to the Korean peninsula. 45. Traditional Japanese medicine similarly absorbed influence from China, eventually developing its own distinct tradition called Kampo, still practiced today alongside conventional modern medicine in Japan. 46. Ancient Greek healing sanctuaries dedicated to Asclepius, the god of medicine, combined religious ritual with what appears to have been genuine rest, careful diet, and early forms of therapeutic environment. 47. Patients visiting these Asclepian healing temples would sometimes sleep within the sanctuary itself, a practice called incubation, in hopes of receiving a healing dream or vision from the god. 48. Whatever one makes of the religious framing, historians note that the calm, restful environment of these ancient healing sanctuaries may have offered genuine, if unintentional, therapeutic value simply through rest and reduced stress. 49. Ancient Egyptian medicine also incorporated dream interpretation as part of diagnosis and treatment, reflecting a broader ancient pattern of connecting sleep and healing across many entirely separate civilizations. 50. We've reached the halfway point of tonight's list. Somewhere in history, a tired traveler once lay down inside a quiet ancient temple, hoping simply, gently, for rest to bring healing. 51. Garlic has been used across numerous ancient cultures, including Egypt, Greece, and China, both as food and medicine, and modern research has confirmed it contains compounds with genuine antimicrobial properties. 52. Ancient Egyptian laborers building the pyramids were reportedly given garlic regularly, believed at the time to support strength and general health during grueling, physically demanding work. 53. Ginger has an extraordinarily long history of medicinal use across Asian healing traditions, and modern studies have found genuine evidence supporting its traditional use for easing nausea. 54. Ancient Indian and Chinese physicians both independently identified ginger's soothing effect on digestion, a rare case of two entirely separate healing traditions arriving at remarkably similar conclusions. 55. Peppermint has been used since ancient times to soothe digestive discomfort, and archaeological evidence suggests dried peppermint leaves were used in Egyptian tombs dating back thousands of years. 56. Chamomile, still widely used today to promote relaxation and calm before sleep, has a documented history of use stretching back to ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome alike. 57. Ancient Egyptians associated chamomile specifically with the sun god Ra, reflecting the plant's valued, gentle, calming reputation even in a civilization built around powerful religious symbolism. 58. Lavender has been used for relaxation and wound care since ancient Roman times, when it was also added to bathwater, a practice believed to have contributed to the plant's very name, drawn from the Latin word for washing. 59. Ancient Roman soldiers reportedly carried lavender to help treat battle wounds, valuing both its calming scent and its believed antiseptic properties on the battlefield. 60. Ancient Chinese medicine developed one of the earliest systematic approaches to pulse diagnosis, in which a practitioner carefully assessed a patient's health by feeling subtle variations in their pulse. 61. Traditional Chinese pulse diagnosis identified dozens of distinct pulse qualities, an extraordinarily detailed system requiring years of careful, patient training to properly master. 62. Ancient Egyptian physicians also assessed the pulse as an indicator of health, believing it directly connected to the heart's role as a central organ of both physical and emotional life. 63. Cupping therapy, involving heated cups placed on the skin to create suction, has ancient roots in multiple civilizations, including Egypt, China, and the Middle East, independently developed across entirely separate regions. 64. Modern athletes have occasionally revived interest in cupping therapy, though rigorous scientific evidence for its specific physiological benefits remains genuinely limited compared to its long, widespread historical popularity. 65. Ancient Mesoamerican civilizations, including the Aztec and Maya, developed extensive herbal knowledge, and Aztec physicians maintained detailed botanical gardens specifically for studying medicinal plants. 66. The Bedtime manuscript, compiled in 1552 by an Aztec physician, catalogues hundreds of medicinal plants used in Aztec medicine, offering historians a genuinely rare, detailed written window into pre-colonial healing knowledge. 67. Traditional Hawaiian healing, called Laolapo, combined herbal treatment with prayer and spiritual practice, knowledge traditionally passed down carefully through specific, respected healing families. 68. Traditional Maori healing in New Zealand similarly combined herbal knowledge with spiritual and community practices, understanding wellness as deeply connected to a person's relationship with land and community alike. 69. Ancient Tibetan medicine developed its own detailed system, drawing influence from neighboring Indian and Chinese traditions while maintaining distinct practices suited to its own unique high-altitude environment. 70. Traditional Tibetan medical texts include detailed anatomical illustrations dating back centuries, offering a genuinely rare visual record of how the body was understood within this specific healing tradition. 71. Ancient Greek physician Dioscorides compiled De Materia Medica around 60 CE, a detailed catalogue of medicinal plants that remained a primary reference text across Europe for well over 1,000 years. 72. De Materia Medica describes roughly 600 plants and their believed medicinal properties, and remarkably, several of Dioscorides' original observations have since been genuinely supported by modern pharmacological research. 73. Ancient Chinese medicine developed moxibustion, a practice involving the careful burning of dried mugwort near the skin, believed to stimulate healing when used alongside acupuncture. 74. Ancient Egyptian medical papyri describe treatments for a remarkably wide range of conditions, including detailed prescriptions for eye disease, a particularly common ailment in the sandy, sun-bright climate of ancient Egypt. 75. Ancient healers across many cultures independently recognized the value of certain minerals and clays for treating skin conditions, a practice reflected in traditions ranging from Egypt to indigenous American medicine. 76. Bloodletting, the deliberate removal of blood believed to restore health, was practiced across numerous ancient civilizations, including Greece, Rome, and later medieval Europe, based on now disproven humoral theory. 77. While bloodletting itself has since been shown to carry little genuine medical benefit for most conditions it was historically used to treat, it remains an important reminder of how sincerely, thoroughly ancient theories shaped centuries of practice. 78. Modern medicine still occasionally uses a controlled, medically supervised form of bloodletting, called therapeutic phlebotomy, for a small number of specific, genuine conditions where it offers real, evidence-based benefit. 79. Ancient Chinese medicine's concept of balance and moderation in diet quietly anticipated certain modern nutritional principles, even though the underlying theoretical framework differed considerably from contemporary science. 80. Ancient Greek physicians emphasized the healing value of fresh air, clean water, and moderate exercise, principles that remain genuinely, broadly consistent with modern public health guidance today. 81. Ancient Roman aqueducts, while built primarily for practical water supply, are credited by historians with genuinely improving public health by reducing exposure to contaminated water sources across the empire. 82. Traditional Chinese medicine's emphasis on preventive care, maintaining balance before illness develops, reflects a philosophy modern public health increasingly, genuinely values as well. 83. Ancient Egyptian dentistry, though limited by the tools and understanding of its time, included early attempts at dental bridges and treatments for gum disease dating back thousands of years. 84. Ancient Indian Ayurvedic practitioners developed detailed dietary guidelines based on individual constitution, an early, culturally specific approach to what modern nutrition science now sometimes calls personalized dietary guidance. 85. Ancient healing traditions across the world independently developed the practice of fasting, believed by many separate cultures to support both physical health and spiritual clarity. 86. Modern research on fasting has found some genuine, evidence-based metabolic benefits under specific, medically supervised conditions, though ancient fasting practices were rarely undertaken with modern clinical safety guidelines in mind. 87. Ancient healers frequently combined physical treatment with community ritual and storytelling, reflecting an understanding, however differently expressed, that healing involves more than the body alone. 88. Traditional Chinese medicine's concept of the body as an interconnected whole, rather than a collection of separate, unrelated parts, echoes certain principles found in modern holistic and integrative medicine today. 89. Ancient Greek and Roman physicians both recognized the therapeutic value of massage, using it to ease muscle tension and support recovery after physical exertion or injury. 90. Ancient Egyptian tomb paintings depict scenes of massage and reflexology-like foot treatment, offering some of the earliest visual evidence of therapeutic touch anywhere in recorded history. 91. Traditional Thai medicine developed its own distinct form of therapeutic massage, combining influence from Indian Ayurveda with local Thai herbal and spiritual tradition over many centuries. 92. Ancient healing traditions across the world frequently incorporated specific, dedicated rest periods as part of treatment, reflecting a widely shared, independent understanding that the body requires genuine time to heal. 93. Many ancient cultures developed specific herbal preparations intended to support sleep, including valerian root, used since ancient Greek and Roman times for its calming properties. 94. Ancient Greek physician Hippocrates himself is recorded recommending valerian root for a range of conditions, and modern research has since found some genuine, if modest, evidence supporting its traditional use for sleep. 95. Passion flower, used traditionally by indigenous peoples of the Americas long before European contact, was later adopted into European herbal tradition specifically for its calming, sleep-supporting reputation. 96. Ancient healing wisdom, across nearly every culture explored tonight, consistently connected calm surroundings, quiet rest, and reduced stress with the body's own natural capacity to heal itself. 97. Modern medicine, built on rigorous testing these ancient traditions never had access to, has confirmed some remedies, gently revised others, and left many still genuinely, honestly under careful, ongoing study. 98. What remains constant across every single healing tradition explored tonight, ancient and modern alike, is the same simple, enduring belief that rest, care, and attention genuinely, deeply matter. 99. Somewhere, tonight, in a language and a century entirely unlike your own, another tired person once lay down exactly as you are now, hoping quietly for the very same thing. 100. And perhaps that is the gentlest secret of all, that across every century and every corner of the world, healing has always begun with something as simple, and as available to you tonight, as rest. We have reached the end of tonight's 100 small journeys through the ancient world's own careful, curious relationship with healing. We touched willow bark that quietly became aspirin, and a sweet wormwood plant that, centuries later, earned a Nobel Prize. We remembered Hippocrates insisting illness had natural causes, and healers in temples who believed rest itself could carry a message from the divine. We walked briefly through humoral theory and bloodletting, sincerely held beliefs later, honestly revised, standing as gentle reminders that even the most careful ancient wisdom was still, always, a work in progress. If tonight's 100 old truths were worth your time, remember that they are offered as history and wonder, not medical guidance, and that your own health always deserves the careful attention of an actual, modern doctor. A like, a subscribe, or a thought left below helps the Sleep Lab stay open for the next curious, sleepy mind who finds their way here. And if you're still awake, there's another story waiting just beyond this one, whenever you're ready for it. But for now, let yourself do what healers across every century have always quietly agreed on: simply rest. Let your body grow heavy. Let your breathing slow. Sleep well. And good night.